Hi, and welcome to Cavaliers Insider on cleveland.com. I'm Joe Noga, sitting in for Dan Lobby today. Cavaliers and Bulls are tied at 2 games apiece in the Eastern Conference semifinals, thanks to a LeBron James buzzer beater in Chicago yesterday. They won 86-84. We're going to recap that game and look ahead to tomorrow's big Game 5 at the Q. We'll be joined by Chris Haynes, Joe Vardon, and Chris Fedor from our Cavaliers coverage team. Let's get right into it. Joined by Chris Haynes on the phone. Chris, are you recovered fully yet from a weekend full of buzzer beaters in the Windy City?
Yeah, the buzzer beaters didn't get to me so much. Last night's sequence of events, the latter part of that game, that's still I'm still kind of reeling over that. I've never seen anything like that happen. I think that's what, unfortunately, that took a lot of the buzz away from that heroic shot of LeBron James, just considering all the things that happened prior to that shot. So I'm still reeling off some of the things that happened before that.
Well, Chris, can you give us an injury update right now on a couple of players? Talk a little bit about Kyrie Irving and the latest news on him, as well as Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith.
Yeah, well, I reported last night that, Kyrie is dealing with, what's been out there is that, he has a right foot strain. We've known that for the last couple of days. But I've noticed that left leg was not looking right. I noticed watching him walk out the arena last night, he was not favoring that right foot. Instead, he was being cautious in how he stepped on that left leg. And I tried to get, Kyrie confirmed to me that there was something going on, but he would divulge exactly what it was. I went to the Cavaliers, tried to get some type of word. All they gave me was that it was a sore left leg. So today, after I put out my report this morning, today the Cavaliers believe that Kyrie had an MRI on that left leg, and it revealed that he had tendonitis in that left leg. Now that probably was that probably occurred due to complications of that right foot that he's going through. So that's what's going on with that. LeBron James, his left ankle sprain. He says no problem. He was walking around fine. That's not an issue. But Kyrie, it's going to be an ongoing problem with his knees and with his foot throughout the rest of the postseason.
Any update on Shumpert and Smith as well? We can get to LeBron James in a second on his turned ankle, but Shumpert had the groin strain and Smith had an undisclosed injury.
Yeah, well, we've known for a while that Shumpert, that's just going to be something he's going to play through. I believe in the third quarter he aggravated again, started grimacing, but he played through it, and he told us after the game that he doesn't expect it to really fully heal until after the season. J.R. Smith, he was fine after the game. He made it known that he was clear. We didn't get to talk to J.R., but those guys, everybody basically will be in uniform. Kyrie Irving will be, and Shump will be the only ones that's not even close to being 100%.
Getting back to Kyrie, and you talked with him, what are some of the things that you expect Kyrie to be able to do in Game 5 in a facilitator capacity, in a decoy capacity, knowing that he's maybe not getting to the rim and finishing in ways that he had normally been able to before suffering that foot injury?
Yeah, he's still going to be able to be a facilitator, although he's not going to have the ball in his hand with the Cavaliers knowing that, he's not the playmaker that he is fully healthy. But he's still a spacer. He's still somebody you can't leave open. And the good thing about, I wouldn't say the good thing, but the Bulls, they had a tendency to forget about him. And I think that's what the Cavaliers want him to do, because he's not as active moving. He's not cut. He's not moving well without the ball. So there's going to be times where they just totally forget about him. LeBron James is going to find him for those, for some threes. So he can still be a weapon in that capacity. And he got to the free throw line 8 times. He talked about that, saying that he was shocked he even got there that many times. But he's going to be a guy that from night to certain nights you don't know what to expect from. He may give you 20, he may give you 30, he may give you 12 or 11. But I still think if everybody is in agreement, the Cavaliers organization, that a 60% Kyrie is better than not having at all.
Again, we're talking with Chris Haynes live here on Cavs Insider. Chris, A couple of players really stepped up and contributed there in the fourth quarter down the stretch in Game 4. Can we expect the same level of contribution from Timofey Mozgov, who had 5 rebounds in the fourth period, was really active on the boards and getting the loose balls? And we talked about J.R. Smith, who came up. He had 11 points in the fourth, hit 3 big three-pointers, really kept the Cavs in the game late. Should we be able to expect from the healthy Cavaliers who are on the court the same level of contribution in Game 5?
Well, Timothy Mozgov, this play has been sporadic. A lot of it is due to him just not being able to catch the ball from, LeBron James, he likes to throw those zip passes and those bounce passes, and Mozgov has struggled. He struggles catching those type of passes. He's not he goes over in practice. They have catching drills for him, and he's really trying to make a concerted effort to get better at that. And last night he did that. He was catching everything and finishing around the basket. I can't sit here with a clear conscience and say he's going to be able to continue to give that, because you never know. But J.R. Smith, I think he's finally found his rhythm, coming back from basically a 2-week hiatus of playing. He's a guy that everybody knows that he fits this system extremely well. He and LeBron James have a chemistry where they don't have to have any plays drawn up for them. It's just organic on court. I think he's finding his rhythm. I think we haven't seen the best of J.R. Tristan Thompson, guys like that, they're playing consistent. In fact, he's Noga, man. I've been extra hard on him this season. I've questioned sometimes Black has left him out there when I think that felt that, he should be out for a large part of the game. He's been, without him, where would this Cavs be? Because Kyrie is not giving them the production he needed, and Delhi is going in there and just playing tremendously. So those bench, they've been playing up to the level of competition and to the level of expectation.
Well, you mentioned Tristan Thompson there briefly. Let's focus a little bit more on Tristan Thompson and the effort that he's given, particularly in the 2 games over the weekend in Chicago. Knowing entering this series that without Kevin Love, a lot of the focus rebounding-wise and offensively, we're looking for some sort of contribution from him on the offensive end. What has Tristan Thompson shown you, just particularly these 2 games in Chicago over the past weekend, about his development and his progression as we've gone through the playoffs?
Tristan Thompson is one of my favorite guys on this team to cover, because I've seen over the last couple of months, and I tweeted about this, he has silently, quietly, has developed a nastiness to him. People that know Tristan know he's a nice guy. He's not going to say too much to, go outside of himself. He's very cautious with his words. He thinks everything out before he says it. But these last couple of months, man, he's been giving me some golden quotes, man. I mean, he's just been coming out and just saying some stuff that you wouldn't expect to come out of him. And even on the court, that has translated on the court. He's fouling guys, and I've seen him. I'm getting, in Chicago, we got courtside seats. And he is, talking some trash out there when he's fouling guys hard, man. Get that stuff out of here. And, that's a little PC way that I could say it on this show. But I'm liking it, man. And that's what the Cavs need. He's not going to be that scorer that Kevin Love was. He's not going to be that spacer at the power forward position. But he can be that toughness, that tough guy, that aggressive guy to the out court. And that's what he's been doing. He is going to get paid handsomely this summer, and he's worth every penny. Because I think what he's doing for the Cavs right now, man, there's nobody else that can give him what he's given.
Well, there you have it. Chris Haynes, our cleveland.com NBA Cavaliers beat writer. Chris, thanks for your work this weekend. Get home, get some rest, and we'll see you tomorrow night for Game 5.
All right, Joe. You take care, my guy.
All right. That was Chris Haynes again, talking a little bit on his way home from Chicago. We're going to go ahead and look at the Eastern Conference semifinals and the schedule here. Of course, Sunday's Cavs game, 86-84, LeBron James buzzer beater with 1.5 seconds left on the clock. sets up a crucial Game 5 on Tuesday night at the Q. It will be at 7 o'clock. The game will be shown on TNT. And I'm joined right now by Joe Vardon, our Cleveland.com's Cavs NBA special assignment reporter. Joe, good to have you here.
All right, good to be here.
Joe, I guess all the talk following Sunday's game was about LeBron and his decision or his sort of overruling of David Blatt on that final play. What's your take on that whole situation about LeBron just sort of exerting himself and putting him in that situation where he wanted the ball and wanted that final shot?
Well, I think that it's getting a lot more attention than it otherwise would for a couple of reasons. And the first, of course, is because right before that, David tried to call timeout when they didn't have any. And that is such an egregious mistake for a coach to make that it's going to, amplify whatever else he does to the nth degree. And then the second thing is that it went in. It was an amazing shot, one of the all-time shots in Cavs history, certainly. We'll remember that for the rest of our lives. And, so then you hear afterwards, like right in the heat, the immediate aftermath of, well, they almost lost because the coach, almost called a timeout when they didn't have any. And then, oh, by the way, I changed the play. You lead to this. And I mean, the thing of it is, I can count multiple occasions this year where that has happened, where LeBron has said, no, we're going to do it a different way, and Blatt says, fine. And also, for what it's worth, I can remember twice when they, with the game on the line, when they had to have it, where LeBron inbounded the ball against the Clippers out there in L.A. in January. He not only did he inbound the ball in the final play, he changed the play so he was the inbounder. LeBron, so that's something everybody forgets. And then the other one was in San Antonio. I mean, Kyrie hit all those threes in overtime and sent the game to overtime. I mean, LeBron inbounded the ball there. So we're making a lot about this, but if you take a deep breath and really think about what's going on, it's much more because of the timeout.
We're talking with Joe Vardon, cleveland.com, NBA special assignment reporter. Joe, again, let's talk about the circumstances that got the Cavaliers to that position where they needed to have LeBron's heroics, and a lot of that was LeBron's doing. Inside of 41 seconds left, we have an offensive foul. We have the inability to inbound the ball on back-to-back opportunities with 18 seconds left. You have to burn timeouts. How much of that heroicism was self-created by LeBron's own admitted, eight turnovers in the game and sort of, I don't want to say sloppy play, but, I can't find a better way to say it.
Well, I mean, his eighth turnover was on the charge with Dunleavy. That's a tough call. That's going to go either way. I mean, LeBron had no space to move whatsoever. And then, another turnover was on the charge where he rolled his ankle, and I mean, Rose was clearly moving. Joe, that's been a theme throughout this playoffs, and I'm actually kind of working on it now, partly, is just this idea that LeBron's not playing well. I mean, he is playing differently than he's had to play all year. He's got one of the best on-ball defenders in the game on him, and the options that he had been playing with all season to either give himself some room or to, eviscerate on-ball defenders on him by passing the ball away, those options are limited. He's also lost his best rebounder, and so he's averaging way over 10 rebounds a game. I mean, he's shooting a high volume of shots, and there are turnovers, and turnovers have been a problem for him all year. But I mean, I think we have to just come to understand that this is a, drag them out, grind them out type series where those are the numbers. Those are the numbers that we're going to see. They just have to find a way to win these close games.
You talk about numbers. Another number that really jumps out at us from yesterday's game, bench scoring, only 15 points off the bench for the Cavaliers yesterday. So you talk about those limited options. Those options go down even further when guys don't contribute off the bench as much. We've seen James Jones show up. We've seen him, not show up in certain games. What else needs to happen around LeBron in order for the Cavs to be successful in the remainder of the series?
Well, with Pau Gasol out, they took advantage there with Timofey Mozgov, who had a great game. And as long as Pau Gasol can't or doesn't play, I'm not sure that lasts beyond Sunday. But if for some reason he's not in there again on Tuesday night, they've got to go right back to that. Lobs to Timofey, try to get it into Timofey however you can, and let him finish. Because Pau really, Pau kind of impacts in there. So that's the first thing. I mean, J.R. Smith bailed them out, got them back into the game. He's a guy that needs to continue to shoot the ball well, coming back off of suspension. And the thing that I really liked about Kyrie Irving was he's not even close to himself. And he somehow found a way to not only get into the lane, but for somehow to draw fouls and get to the line for 11 points, or for 8 points of however many he finished with. He played 41 minutes. I can't believe the Bulls let that happen. I can't believe that they didn't exploit him to the point that forced David Blatt to take him out. But the way David sounded today, he sounded like, that he's not going to. He's going to ride Kyrie through all these injuries, and they're just, he's got to find a way to continue somehow to give them enough. I still think the Cavs have enough to get through this series, but the margin for error continues to shrink.
We're talking with Joe Vardon, cleveland.com special assignment NBA reporter. Joe, really quickly to wrap things up here on LeBron, the three-point shooting has been well documented. He hit a couple in the Game 4 win. Is that something he just needs to get in the gym and continue to work on, maybe come early for shooting practice like he likes to with JR, or is that something he's going to have to maybe steer himself away from throughout the game, the remainder of the playoffs?
No, I think he's got to keep shooting that shot. You've got to keep shooting them until they go in. Part of it is trying to create some space for LeBron so he can catch in rhythm and shoot. And he's got to be a little better. One thing he hasn't done this whole playoffs is shoot on the court before the game. It's not something that he often does anymore. Like he did it like maybe a handful of times during the regular season. But, he is, as much as I think the defense being played by Jimmy Butler is underrated here. I do agree that there's not a rhythm there for LeBron right now. And so anything you can do to try to generate a little more rhythm, he might try. So I don't know, maybe before Game 5 he will be out there on the floor.
All right, Joe. Well, you stay in rhythm and stay hot. Get ready for tomorrow night's Game 5, and we'll talk to you then.
We'll grind it out.
That's Joe Vardon, Cleveland.com's NBA special assignment reporter. Again, just looking ahead to the Eastern Conference semifinals remaining games. Folks, it's a best-of-3 series right now with a big Game 5 coming up tomorrow night on TNT, 7 o'clock tip. Thursday, 8 o'clock on ESPN, and that's going to be in Chicago. And if necessary, we will be back at the Q on Sunday for a Game 7. That time is still yet to be determined. So right now, we are going to be joined by Chris Fedor, the third member of our Cavaliers coverage team. Chris, good to have you here.
What's going on, Joe?
Not a lot. Hoping everybody's recovered from a couple of heart-stopping games out in Chicago this weekend. Chris, right off the bat, what's the latest from practice? What are you hearing? Injury updates, the feel around the team, and you were there this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team is confident despite the fact that the team is also wounded. I think there are some realities that the Cavs are going to have to deal with for the remainder of this series against Chicago and probably even moving forward for any of the other series that are going to follow this one, if there are going to be ones that follow this one. Iman Shumpert has a groin injury, and that's not going to get better. The only way that's going to get better is if he rests, if his minutes are limited, but David Blatt and the Cavs can't afford for that to happen. Kyrie Irving has been dealing with a foot injury since Game 2 against Boston. So if you think about that, Joe, he had 8 days off between the Boston series ending and the Chicago series starting, and it's still a problem for him. So you got to think that this is something that's going to linger probably for the remainder of the playoffs, not to mention he's dealing with left knee tendonitis because he's been overcompensating with the right foot injury. So it's just a new reality that the Cavs have to deal with. In saying that, they still have the best player on the court. It's still LeBron James. Everybody saw what he was capable of, even when he wasn't at his best. He wasn't efficient. He was turning the ball over. He still hung his team in the game long enough for him to deliver the game-winning shot. And when you have LeBron James, even with a wounded Cavs team, you're going to have a shot against any team in the NBA, or at least any team in the Eastern Conference.
Chris, let's talk a little bit about the way this team needs to improve on closing games out. Inside of 41 seconds left, and you have a 5-point lead. Those are situations where more veteran teams are able to come through and close games out, particularly in the playoffs. You had the incident or the situation where they had back-to-back timeouts with 18 seconds left, unable to inbound the ball. And I don't want to take anything away from Chicago's defense, but that's a situation where James Jones has to trigger that pass at some point and make it a good one. What are you seeing from the Cavs and where they need to improve on closing games out late in the playoffs?
Well, I think it's the little things, Joe. I think turnovers have been a problem in this series against Chicago. And I believe you have to give the Bulls a lot of credit because they are a defensive-minded team. They're very sound defensively. They make things very difficult in the half court. So turnovers are a problem. The Cavs had 15 of them yesterday. It led to 17 points in a tightly contested game, a defensive struggle. Those things can change outcomes. I think the other thing is rebounding and getting those 50-50 balls. Yesterday, the Cavs were able to get a few of those things that went their way. In other games in this series, they haven't been able to come away with those things, and the 50-50 balls have gone to Chicago, or the offensive rebounds have gone to Chicago. So it's those kinds of things. But at the same time, Joe, I think all of these things that the Cavs are dealing with here in this series against Chicago are great. I think it's a great learning experience for these guys. David Blatt, he made big-time blunders yesterday. The hope is that he gets those things out of the way. He learns from them. The Cavs yesterday collectively as a team got pushed around, and it was a physical game, and there were some things that could have gone a different way, but they didn't. They found a way to win the game, and at the same time, they're gaining valuable learning experience so that when they're in these situations moving forward, if there's a Game 7 or if it's the Eastern Conference Finals against Washington or Atlanta, at least they have some experience that they can draw back on. That's the hope anyway.
Chris, you mentioned the physical nature there in Game 5. We did see a moment where J.R. Smith received a technical foul on a play where Mirotic, the replay showed that he cracked him in the face with a hand. Do you think there's a possibility the NBA maybe reviews that and rescinds the technical, so that it doesn't count towards a disqualification later on down the road for JR?
I find that hard to believe, Joe. He was the one that retaliated, and you can talk about what happened in the play leading up to that, but look, in sports, oftentimes the guy that gets hit with the technical or the personal foul is the guy that retaliates. And the bottom line is J.R. Smith has to keep his emotions in check. This is the playoffs. Things are going to be tough. Things are going to be physical. The opponent's going to try and get under his skin. Things happen throughout the course of a game. Some get called, some don't get called. But it's up to him to be a professional, and it's up to him to not be a liability. And if you're playing in a tightly contested game, a defensive struggle, giving away 1 point could be critical. So J.R. Smith has to keep his emotions in check. He was great in the fourth quarter, starting off that fourth quarter, 4 of 4 from the field, getting 11 points. But you simply cannot lose your cool, especially in the postseason, especially when you're a guy with the reputation of J.R. Smith. They're not going to let those things slide.
All right, we're talking with Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, part of our Cavaliers coverage team. Chris, you want to talk about reputation. David Blatt nearly destroyed his with an ill-timed request for a timeout there late in the game. What's your assessment of David Blatt's performance in Game 4?
Joe, I thought he was horrible. I mean, I think a coach is measured in what he does late in games and if he's a benefit or a detriment to his team. And I think you can look at the results all you want to, and you can say, well, he didn't call that timeout or the referee didn't see it. But if you're evaluating a guy, it's like evaluating a quarterback. Are you only going to say that it's a bad pass from the quarterback if it's intercepted, or are you just going to look at what happened? Are you going to look at the pass that hit the defender in the hands and say that was a bad pass? You absolutely can't do that again. I'm looking at what David Blatt did. And I don't care that the referee missed it. He tried to call a timeout without any timeouts remaining. That's a no-no. That's a technical foul. It's possession for the Chicago Bulls, and it probably means a 3-1 deficit for the Cavs. Things are moving fast. Things are tough. You've got to make decisions on the fly. And I've got to feel like I've got a coach, or the Cavs have a coach, that is going to make quality decisions on the fly. That's one piece of evidence that says otherwise. The other piece of evidence is you've got 1.5 seconds to go. You've got a chance to draw up a play, and your original plan is to have the best player in the world, the best player on your team in a must-win game, in a must-have shot. Your plan is to have him inbound the ball? It's unacceptable. It's ridiculous, especially given the fact that Kyrie Irving, the only other option on that play, is hobbled, and he was 2 of 10 at the time, and he is clearly less than 100%, and he's already labeled himself a decoy. I mean, who was he going to call the play for? Timofey Mozgov? Matthew Dellavedova? Tristan Thompson? It's LeBron James. You live and die with your best player deciding the outcome, and sometimes LeBron's going to come through, and sometimes he's not. But at least you know that he was part of deciding that outcome. And for David Blatt to originally have a plan in that moment, a critical moment, to have LeBron James inbound the ball is indefensible and it's inexcusable. And if it doesn't change, David Blatt's going to cost this team a chance to go to the NBA Finals.
Well, Chris, we appreciate your candor and your opinion on the play. Again, looking forward to tomorrow night's Game 5 and our coverage here on cleveland.com. Get some rest, and then we'll see you tomorrow night at the Q.
All right, Joe. Sounds good, buddy.
All right. That was Chris Haynes, Joe Vardon, and Chris Fedor, our Cavaliers coverage team. And we are looking forward to a big Game 5 tomorrow night at the Q. Stick around on cleveland.com for all of your coverage pregame and postgame. And thanks for joining us.